Yay! Okay, we are live, everyone. Good morning. Happy Thursday morning. I am doing a special event today, unlike my normal Thursday thoughts, with my guest, Sal Campitiello from East End Interiors, who is an interior design showroom. But give them more details, Sal. We've known each other for, 25 years or so now.
Long time.
A long time. So thank you for doing this. I wanted to talk about this very important topic that's going on in the industry, but tell them who you are first, and then we'll get into it.
Well, thank you for having me, Nancy. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and have some interesting conversation with your group. East End Interiors is a to-the-trade showroom. We're a multi-line showroom, so we basically distribute an assortment of different product lines, ranging from upholstery, case goods, lighting, accessories, area rugs, artwork and mirrors, decorative accents, to the trade only. So we basically support designers from start to finish with regards to assistance with some research and speccing product to order and follow up and right down to the white glove and everything else that goes in between, which I have a feeling that's what this conversation is about, all the in-between stuff. So
Yes.
You could also check out our website, eastendinteriors.com. You can register there for an account, and also you can see our line list, and you can certainly connect with us there as well.
Awesome. And at the end of the broadcast, we'll also kind of go over who you serve, like what areas, because you're here on Long Island, but I know your reach is further than that. But let's get into this, right? So the reason why I wanted to have you on is because of the extreme nature of what's going on in the industry when it comes to delays. Everything I wrote in the description: navigating price increases for products, extended lead times, unexpected delays, shortages, and the rising costs of everything, and how that's affecting kind of like the flow of the designer's process. And a lot of them are getting beat up by clients, which I'm sure you're hearing on a regular basis as the designers who use your showroom are telling you. So give us a little background on what you know about what's going on in the industry.
Well, it's really, there's so much going on that we've really never seen, and certainly in the history that I've been in the industry, and even others that have been in it much longer than I have. It's just a culmination of a lot of different factors that kind of created like the perfect storm. To your point, lead times have been increased dramatically due to a number of factors, obviously COVID being one major factor and all the repercussions and everything that happened with that. And there's also a foam shortage that hit the industry, which has even caused more delays and a tremendous inconvenience. And it's tough. It's really, really tough because the end user and the consumer really has a hard time wrapping their mind around this reality. A lot of times they get to a point where they just don't want to hear it anymore.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then you're really left with nothing else to say because it's the reality that we're in. But here's the light at the end of the tunnel. I try to look at things in a positive way. So one is, the upside is that the industry is booming right now. So there's a lot of work out there, and it's a great opportunity to, capture new projects and start new working relationships with clients. Obviously, you're gonna have to navigate some of the factors that we're going to be talking about today, but there's tremendous opportunity to increase your revenue as a designer, more so than ever, because COVID did create a tremendous demand for our industry. And the other upside to look at this whole situation is you're not in it alone. Everybody is dealing with the same factors, and it's not like the customer has a better alternative somewhere else. And I'll just say that from our standpoint, I mean, we process a lot of orders. We deal with a lot of different designers, not just locally in the Long Island area, but even out of state. And I could count on one hand, and I won't even use all my fingers, on how many orders that have been canceled because people don't want to wait any longer. And the reason, it's not because they didn't want to cancel or they didn't threaten to cancel. It's because there wasn't a good alternative option that would get it to them quicker. So in light of all this, we're not really seeing a lot of cancellations. There's reselecting going on, okay, which is a little annoying because it's more time and work. But ultimately, the sale is coming through, and we're not losing it. You know, the designer's not losing it, and obviously, as a showroom, we're not losing it either. So that's definitely a positive aspect that I think should not be overlooked.
I think they're all great points because I'm solution driven, right? I'm not one to sit in, oh my God, this is happening in the industry and like dwell on it. I'm just like, okay, what's the solution? So I love what you said about like, in the end, if they start looking for an alternative, there's not really a great alternative for them, but it's sometimes the designer has to reselect for them. So as a showroom, and I'm not asking you to name companies, but as a showroom, can you direct interior designers to other lines that seem to be having less lead time or less increases in prices or more success just with the flow because of where they make their goods or their shipping process? Are you able to help them?
Yeah, it's really the difference between bad and worse. So there's nothing good in relative to what we knew is good. We had manufacturers that prior to all this happening, prior to the pandemic, they were producing goods in 4 to 6 weeks. And then you figure with transit time, you would add like another 2 or so weeks for that. So we were telling designers 6 to 8 weeks on domestic upholstery and domestic case goods was realistic. Sometimes 8 to 10. If we had like import lines, like we deal with some Italian vendors that, obviously the logistics and transit time is much longer. They were like 12 to 14 weeks. And that was the norm then. Now I would say good is 10 to 12. And that's really getting pushed now because even some of the vendors that were at that 10 to 12, they're kind of pushing past the 12 now. They're inching, they move the goalpost as time progresses because the situation hasn't gotten any better. It will, but it just hasn't yet. And I would say the extreme is, we're getting lead times of up to 24 weeks, 6 months.
I've even heard
what sounds worse, 6 months or 24 weeks. I play around with it. I try to see their reaction either way, but it's not good. It's not good because people figure out they know what it means. Right. The key is when a designer initially engages with a client, and we have the opportunity to be part of that interaction. Let's say here in our showroom. First thing I'll ask them is, what's your time frame? And based on that answer, I will either direct them or redirect them to, from something that's, bad, worse to bad, instead of 24 weeks, let's look at the 12 to 14, 16 week guy instead of the 24 week companies. But what I noticed that a lot of, I'm going to say several designers that have been really catching on to what's going on and managing this in a good way. What they're doing is, if you have projects that involve renovation and then furniture, a lot of these designers are getting them into the furniture very early. Some of these clients are ordering furniture and have not started their renovation. Now, the good thing is there's a lot of renovation going on. At least we're seeing it here on Long Island because we have a lot of people moving out from the city. So a lot of the projects that we're seeing do involve some sort of construction, renovation, alteration, whether minor or major, it's something. So right there, it pads our lead time because now they're not looking for it tomorrow or in a month. They're not ready for it. So that's a good thing. So one point I would like to, suggest for the designers is, as the earlier you can to get your client to commit to their purchases. And I know the same, we're not in the appliance business, but I know they're dealing with it too. So the more time you can allocate and give your client, so this way you can manage the lead times better. If they don't need it, it's better for them to wait while they don't need it, because once they need it and once they want it, then it becomes more challenging. So I love it when I'll say to a customer, they'll test drive something, they'll sit on a section we have on the floor, and I'll say to them, you're looking at 6 months on this, and they'll say, you know what, no big deal, we haven't even started the renovation yet.
Nice.
And that's kind of a sense of relief right there, because now even if they finish and they're waiting 4 to 6 weeks at that point, it's more manageable. But if they had to wait 6 months from that point, that would be a problem.
Right.
So one of the things that I think some of these designers are doing, in a savvy way, is they're getting them in early, and they're getting them to commit to the ordering because they know how long everything is taking, and that's making a big difference.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you is sometimes domestic purchases are better than international right now, if you can direct them to a domestic firm.
What's interesting, for the most part, yes. However, some of our domestic lines are backlogged, even more than our import lines. So, for instance, that example I gave you with that Italian, the Italian companies we deal with, they went from like 12 to 14 weeks, and right now they're at about 18 weeks. I have domestic upholsterers in North Carolina that are giving me 24 weeks, so I could get product in some instances from Italy faster than I can from North Carolina. So it's bizarre. No, you could have never predicted this kind of turn of events, but it's just the reality of the situation that we're in.
Now, talk to me about freight, because if somebody quoted freight 6 months ago, and now all the delays and stuff's just coming in now, and then they're getting hit with a bill that's higher than they quoted the client. Like, let's talk about quoting freight, because this is a endless difficulty for interior designers, right? Quoting freight, delivery, everything. They're always like, how much do I add? What should I do? How does your showroom handle giving that fee through to the interior designer? How early can you tell them how much it's going to cost? How much are you estimating, and how much should they be estimating?
So one of the things we do, we've always done this, and we haven't changed in lieu of everything going on, is we provide freight and home delivery costs at the time that you sign off on the order.
How do you do that?
We know our costs, and we manage it.
Okay.
We also deal with volume, so we're able to control it a little better than, let's say, a onesie twosie that are coming from areas unknown. So we have the ability to, and trust me, it's a challenge.
So you're basically estimating based on your years of experience with different lines and coming.
We're actually estimating based on cost. So we know what freight costs based on a couple of factors. It could be sometimes it's a fixed percentage, which is an easy way to factor it, but there's other times where it goes by weight or cube, and then obviously from where it's coming, shipping from and to. These are all factors that play in. So the bigger challenge is like really minimums, where if you have something that's shipping and it's not meeting a minimum. Now we have an advantage with that, and we'll tell our designers straight out. We'll say, if something's available, let's say it's in stock, and we had this situation recently where they said, well, what's the freight price? And we said, well, here's the deal. If you want it now because it's in stock, this is the freight cost because it's going to go alone. But if you're willing to wait for us to piggyback it to another order, then this will be your freight cost. And at that point, they make the decision. But what we do is we quote it in advance, and the number doesn't change.
So basically, you're managing within. If you're adding 15% or 20% or whatever you figured out is the right formula for you, whether you're losing money or gaining a little money on each one is neither here nor there to your business. You're giving a designer, this is the dollar amount for the freight.
We've always understood from day one that a designer always likes to know their complete their total cost from the beginning.
Yes.
Now, sometimes it's the other extreme. Like we'll have designers that are quoting a lot of different things, and they'll want to get a variety of pricing on different items that are options. It's very hard to quote freight on options. We need to know what the final scenario is. But once the items are finalized and we know which items are coming from which vendors, then we're very confident in providing a fixed cost, and it won't change. We tell them straight out, it won't change regardless of what happens. And if that's the case, if there's any changes that incur between the time that an order is placed to by the time that it ships, if there's anything we have to deal with the manufacturer, because we're getting hit with various surcharges that are coming about, and they'll hit it on us out of the blue and say, oh, from now on, everything shipping out is getting a 3.5% surcharge effective immediately. And so things like that, if you already put your order in and that wasn't part of the equation, we don't hit anybody with that after. We're taking some hits here and there, and then we adjust moving forward. What I would suggest for a designer that's managing these components on their own, and if you're working with a client, is make sure you give yourself room.
Yes.
If you're in a position where your freight costs may change, in the example that with our showroom, Nancy, it won't change, right? Because that's what we're saying. Right. But in a situation where it may change, and you know that it may change, you have to give yourself room, and you can't be afraid to do it. You have to do it. Everybody's in the same boat. There's nobody that can truck product from point A to point Z any more cost effectively than the next person. We're all dealing with the same challenges, and there are driver shortages. There's rising fuel costs. There's a number of factors that are making freight a tremendous challenge right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I teach my clients, my group or my one-on-one clients, is to decide on a percentage that you add to everything. If they're purchasing directly and not through a showroom like you, right, where they're being given the cost of freight and shipping, I say, let's calculate how much your last 6 orders were, and let's then give it a little cushion and just give a percentage. And sometimes you'll take a hit too, and sometimes you'll make a little extra. That's neither here nor there. It's just flattening it out for the end user, because they get really annoyed getting nitpicked on like, oh, it's an extra $200, or it's $1,600 extra dollars now because of COVID. And the clients are so upset, and then they don't trust the designer anymore. So if the designer just puts that cushion in up front, I mean, if they're using a showroom like yours or your showroom, that's great that you're providing them with the cost right from the beginning, and you're telling them it's never going to change. And if we take a hit, we take the hit, not you, not your client. And that's the mistake. A lot of designers are waiting until they get the freight bill, and then they get this, and then they keep going back to their clients.
And think about the client's position at that point. Here they are now waiting 20 weeks, 22 weeks, 20, whatever it is that they're waiting. So they're frustrated. And now you're hitting them with, oh, and by the way, here's the freight. Oh, and by the way, this is the delivery charge. It's very hard at that point to sell it. You're better off getting them in the beginning when they're excited about the process. They're placing the orders. They have that vision in their mind that it's, finally going to be done at some point, and they're all excited. It's much easier to put those numbers into the whole package in the beginning. And like you said, give yourself room, create that cushion. And if you win some, you lose some, but at the end of the day, it should average out.
Right. Which is why I'm in business, right? Because it's all about making sure you're profitable on every single job. And the profitability that you're gaining on every single job is going to protect you if something happens on a future client where something happens where you've got to eat $1,000. It's not going to hurt as much because you're actually running a profitable business, right? Instead of being so tight all the time. So I just want to tell everyone, if you're here watching live, say hello to us, click the link above our heads, which says you are giving Be Live permission to see your comments. This way I can see your name. Otherwise it happens like this, which is Farah. Thank you for being here. But I want to make sure we can see your name when you're commenting instead of it saying Facebook user. So basically she's agreeing that this is exactly what she's trying to let them know, that to think about it now when they aren't in a hurry to get the furniture, just the point you were making before. So very, very good point. So this is available for you guys to ask questions if you have any. This is a tough subject because not everyone's going to have questions, because there's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot you can do, right? It's just
That's
like
right.
Your communication skills have to be exemplary in this situation. And you have to tell the clients right from the beginning how happy you are to work with them. Just want to let you know how long this may take because of what's going on in the world. And I'm just going to say it because, I just say it like it is. If you end up with an asshole client who's yelling at you, I had one of my clients the other day, an interior designer, basically is being screamed at. Like, make it happen, and make it happen by Friday because I'm having a party, the week after. Like, so sorry you're having a party, but the world has delays and there's nothing you can do. And she's like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, you basically say, these are the facts and there's nothing I can do about it. So
right. And the key to prevent that situation from happening the next time is to set the tone correctly in the beginning.
Exactly.
Chances are that client was not really educated on the reality of the situation at hand. And sometimes designers want to please their customer and tell them everything they want to hear. We know it, right? We never like to say no. We don't like confrontation generally, right? We're in it for the creative process. So you want to tell them everything that is going to make them say, yes, 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 I'll do it. So you want to give them all the good news. But the reality of it is you can't start a relationship that way now. The expression, you under promise and over deliver. There's never been a time, more so than now to really take that to heart, because the best thing is, and it sounds a little dreary to start a relationship that way, but it'll pay dividends later on, when you could say to them, we've been managing this for you. You knew this from the beginning. We know that you have a date for the party. We're doing the best we can. Some of the items may make it. Some of the items may not make it. As long as you say that from the beginning and they engage you with that understanding, then you're doing your job.
Definitely. And these are adjustments they can make now. The problem with some of these clients is they started their projects or building their houses when the designers are dealing with old contracts, basically, right?
Yeah,
so that they're now re-educating. And here's the thing that I say in my groups all the time. You need to learn how to talk about money, just like you're talking about your breakfast, without all the emotional without all the emotion involved. Even if your client is emotional, you have to be very businesslike. And it's the same when talking about delays. These are facts. These are not opinions, right? It's a fact. The entire world right now in the United States is what we're talking about, particularly here, are experiencing delays realistically of 6 months or better on some goods. And with the foam shortage that you mentioned before, what can they choose? I want to talk about that, because can they choose other types of filler if they're doing custom orders? Is there?
No.
How can that be?
You want a wood sofa?
There's an opportunity if anyone's an inventor.
Basically what happened, and I think a lot of people in the industry, including myself, never even realized this, but apparently in Texas, there are, I think it's like 7 plants in total in the Texas area that make 2 of the chemicals that are used in foam production. And they pretty much supply the majority of foam manufacturers. So this is not just furniture. This is automobiles. This is anything that requires foam. It's beyond just the furniture industry. And due to that cold weather storm they had with the ice, most of those factories were compromised, and they lost product, and they lost production time, and they're still not back up to speed. And the entire industry is basically relying on them, and it's just a very unusual set of circumstances, because it just so happened it's really unrelated to COVID. It was a natural weather storm.
Natural disasters also affect the industry.
This could have happened 3 years ago or 5 years from now. But it just so happened to add. It was like the icing on the cake. And so now the challenge is that you have factories that are overloaded with orders. They're taking it, and I've spoke to several of my vendors that are saying that they are receiving more orders in a week than they're able to produce in a week. So if that keeps happening, it creates a tremendous backlog. Now, with all this work that you have to do, and you can't get foam, these factories actually are shutting down for days at a time, because you have to understand, you have a factory of, let's say, they're anywhere from 200 to 600 employees, and everything is kind of an assembly line. So you can't upholster a piece of furniture if the foam hasn't been installed yet. And due to the foam shortages, it's causing delays. So they have to literally shut down for a couple of days here and there, so they build up their foam supply, and then they can crank up again. And then don't forget, they're still working with social distancing and all the COVID related issues. And some of the factories have had outbreaks here and there where entire departments have to be shut down because of. So now you're adding. It's all happening collectively now, and honestly, we some of the dates we have companies that are not even giving us dates because they can't. They just don't know.
Wow.
Try telling that to your customer.
That's crazy. And that's where you have to, like you said, sometimes you're going to have to spend more time to reselect and really know
one of the things
companies.
One of the things that we tell every designer, if there is an issue with there's a delay in production, as long as the piece hasn't been started in production, you can cancel it. We'll give you your money back. You can apply it to something else. We're not going to hold anybody hostage. And I think it's important for designers to pass that same courtesy to their client. Nobody wants to lose a sale, so I know you're not going to be so forthcoming in doing it. But if you kind of disarm them by offering them, listen, I will gladly cancel the order if you want to, if you can't wait any longer, and I'll refund you. Knowing that there's really not too many alternative options that are going to be better for them. So the reality of it is that they probably won't cancel, but I feel that it kind of cools them down a little bit.
Yes.
And it causes them to be less confrontational because it's not like a fighting thing that we have to butt heads here.
That's a great point. It's disarming them. And you're going, you know what? It hasn't started production yet. So we have the opportunity to reselect or cancel the order. And I'm happy to do that. That's
exactly it. And listen, even more challenging, we do a lot of outdoor furniture, right? I mean, and especially now with COVID, people are spending a lot more time at home, which is obviously part of the cause of the tremendous demand that our industry is seeing. So how do you tell somebody that has a big outdoor furniture order that they're not going to see it till mid to end of August?
Till the end of the summer when you can no longer use it.
So what do you say? If you don't want to wait, we understand. Let us know. If it's at this point now, you can cancel it. It has not started production yet. Let us know. And like I said, very few are canceling.
Right. So the alternative
is, and I get some of it. So there's also a lot of split shipping going on. So that's another thing for designers to be wary of. Split ship costs money. Okay. We know because we deal with it. And again, we manage this and this is kind of some of the add-on services we give to designers. If we could split a shipment, and it means that a designer can get something sooner, a portion of the order sooner than the rest, than the remaining part of the order. If it ends up costing us a few extra dollars, we'll do it. It's just part of our kind of add-on services that we're doing. It's not, we're kind of looking at this as a temporary crisis we're in. So we don't see this lasting for, forever. But that's something that if as a designer that's, let's say, dealing with these issues directly, again, if you give yourself a little bit of cushion, you could give your client that opportunity as well and split ship some orders as long as you're covered.
And if they're working through your showroom, you're not charging extra for that. But if they're doing it directly with the manufacturer or a company, it may cost them extra, and they need to know that also.
Correct.
And then it's a matter of, depending on your relationship with your client, either you're eating that split because you're trying to make them happy or calmer and keep them moving forward, or you're going back to them and saying, well, we could split the order so you can get half of it, but it'll cost you an extra $200, right? And then
if you know it in the beginning too, and we've been in this situation where we'll say to them, here's the freight cost for the order. However, if you want to split it, because sometimes logistics are very challenging depending on where it's shipping from and where it's shipping to. So some of these differences can get kind of sizable. So it's hard to give yourself that much cushion because then you're going to price everything out so expensive. So we try to be as fair as possible. So when those situations arise and we know in advance, because a lot of times we can know availability sometimes before we place orders, we could present option A and option B. If you want the table and chairs first and then wait on the loungers and all the other stuff, then here's your freight cost. And if you want them separately, one price. If you want them together, here's the other price. And then you can let the client decide.
You guys must be going crazy right now trying to, I
We
mean, all
are.
the designers who use you because you're such
Yeah.
a great service for them. I can't even imagine how, did you go from 1 to 2 staff members just to do orders and
We
track?
hired 2 employees in the past like 3 months. And we have a help wanted ad out.
Okay, anyone listening on Long Island, if you want a job, call Sal.
So it's very hard. And again, we never factored in for all the extra work that we're all doing essentially for the same money. It is what it is. It's
Yes.
not, but here it beats the alternative. What's the alternative is our industry could have been decimated like some other industries due to the pandemic. And so we feel extremely blessed that for once the furniture industry got the better end of the deal, due to a tragedy.
Yes.
So we're grateful that we have the business. Most designers that are busy are also grateful. So it's a little extra work. It's a little extra time, and it's, it is what it is.
It's a
It
little
beats the
extra
alternative.
time, or it's a lot of extra time, most likely for the same money. Everyone's working harder, but this is why I had Sal on. What he just said is why I had Sal on and why we've been friends for 25 years is because of his optimistic outlook. And you know what? It is what it is. We cannot change it. We just have to work with it. So I love your outlook, Sal. I think that's incredible because to be a Debbie Downer and always be, and sorry if your name's Debbie, could be negative Nancy if you want, but it's not helpful to dwell on the negative and just perpetuate it constantly in your conversations. It's just gain the knowledge, figure out your strategy for handling it, which you gave a tremendous amount of tips today. And this is what I give to my clients all the time. And then get comfortable with the conversation. Get comfortable with it. Because do you have an end in sight? I don't see an end in sight yet with delays.
I'm going to say, and I have only because what others are saying, and it seems to make sense, but at least a year, I think. And hopefully it starts to get better.
Yes.
Before that, but I don't think we're going to be out of this situation for a while. But it also means we're going to be busy for that much time too.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing.
I was just about to say,
Yeah.
So be grateful that our industry is benefiting from a really, worldwide tragedy, and that you are employed and that you have clients who still want to use you. And now it's just a matter of pivoting your conversation and your language that you're using and expectations and passing that on, and costs, obviously, making sure you're covering your costs. And I love when you said the clients really don't have a lot of options. It's not like they're going to go to another designer who's going to have any kind of a different situation when it comes to delays.
Right. And here's the reality too. With everything that's going on, there's price increases across the board, right? You talk to a contractor and they're complaining about the cost of lumber going up, rightfully so. So what happens? The contractor on that next job is going to start raising his prices. He's going to adjust. Talk to the plumber and he's complaining that the cost of PVC is going up. Can't get PVC. So what happens? He's going to adjust his pricing. So as an interior designer, this is also affecting you. All this extra work should result in you increasing your prices. It only makes sense, and it should be, and it's across the board. If you're the only one not increasing your pricing, but yet you're paying more for everything else, then there's an imbalance.
Definitely. Let me just bring up what Amy said here. I know only part of when you guys put nice long messages to us, which I love, only part of it shows up on the screen, but she finally emailed all her current clients. This is one of my clients, about the shipping situations and outlined it. Now with all incoming clients, she said, I explained it up front. There will be shipping delays, and my clients have expressed how they appreciate the honesty, even though it's such a Debbie Downer conversation. Yeah, it is, but it is what it is. That's the bottom line. Anything else you want to add about this situation? I think we covered most of what I had outlined here, right? So price increases, delays, shipping costs, lead times, and pivoting your estimating and your pricing in order to deal with this situation. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I would just say, just do the best you can to manage it. Stay on top of it. Just be on your game. And if you really give it a sincere effort and you work hard, you can't be asleep at the wheel at this time now, because that'll further frustrate the customer base.
Yes.
But as long as you stay on top of it and you communicate, even if you're not giving them good news, the fact that you're touching and you're touching base with them more frequently shows them that you are doing everything that you possibly can. Don't let them get a sense that they don't hear from you because it's been, it's a 20-week lead time. So now they don't hear from you for 20 weeks. Then they start getting nervous, right? So if anything, I would up the game and just find creative ways to just give little touches here and there, just to let them know you're on it, you're thinking of them. As soon as something comes in, whatever it may be, just to give them that sense of comfort that they're not stranded on an island with no furniture in sight.
Right. And no beer.
Right.
So I tell my clients, I teach my clients to do a weekly status report even if nothing has changed, they hear from you. And what that does, and that sounds like a lot, but it doesn't have to be a long dissertation. It's just like, hey, touching base, Friday update. This is what we worked on this week, and we're still waiting for this furniture, but we've been on top of checking with the showroom or the manufacturer, and its status hasn't changed. That will stop all the panic texts, all the annoying phone calls, just because, like you said, you're touching base with them and they just go, okay, nothing's changed, but at least I'm in the know, right?
Right. You prevent the buildup. You prevent the buildup and the explosion. It doesn't mean that they're going to be happy, but you prevent that explosive conversation and that the vicious demands that that are impossible at this point now to accommodate.
The analogy I always give is, if you're in a relationship and you get into an argument and then you don't talk about it, what happens in your mind? It gets worse and worse and worse, and you build it up until it explodes. Same thing happens to your clients. If they're unhappy about a little bit unhappy, that is going to just grow if they don't hear from you for a long period of time. So
that's right.
Stay in touch. So thank you, Sal. Tell everyone how to find East End Interiors and who you serve and what you do one more time before we go off.
Sure. So you can visit us at eastendinteriors.com. You can connect with us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, East End Interiors. And we are based on Long Island. We're in St. James, which is in Suffolk County. We are a destination. We have designers that even from the Long Island, New York City area. We just had a designer come to us from New Jersey last week, and spent a couple hours here getting some work done. So if you're within proximity, I would encourage you to come, give us a call, because we are doing only appointments just so we can manage the amount of people in the showroom at any given point. But definitely make it a point to come out and visit us. You can get a lot done in one visit. And also, if you're not from the area, we do service designers out of state or designers locally that have projects out of state. That's a big part of our business, and it is probably one of the faster growing categories for us. So we are doing a lot of that as well.
We talked about that a while ago, right?
We did. Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. And I'm going to add to the plug that Sal's Showroom, you can bring your clients. They can sit on things. They can touch things. And they will never be sold to behind your back, because that's
correct.
That's your reputation, and you hold to it. You're an interior designer showroom only. If someone walks in without an interior designer, they cannot stay, and they get assigned an interior designer. Perhaps I don't know if you still have that program going on.
We do. If they're not, if a consumer reaches out, they're not working with somebody, we'll offer to make a connection. We will not sell them directly, and we will not let them into the library and they can't start looking at fabrics and finishes. They could see the showroom area and they could look, touch, and feel, but they can't get into the whole custom process without a designer in the equation.
Love it. And I love the fact that you have tables there. They can sit with their clients. You help the designers with the design if they're struggling with one particular area, and you serve lunch every day to whoever's in the showroom.
Lunch. There's fresh coffee in the morning and throughout the day. And there's lunch. Like I said, most designers that come here generally spend several hours at a time. So, and if you come with your clients now, they're here spending that time with you. And it's a lot. Like it's mentally exhausting to go through an entire presentation with a client. So
Yes.
that lunch is really a nice little pick me up. It makes people relax a little bit. It gets them comfortable. It also adds to the credibility for the designer. The client, the better the experience the client has, then the better position the designer is in to basically get the sale and build a strong relationship.
Absolutely. And I'm getting a question here. What about the Buffalo, New York area?
Sure. I mean, we haven't done a whole lot in that direction, but that shouldn't be a problem at all. We've shipped as far as California, so Buffalo is definitely feasible.
Okay, so if they are not in the local area, they can go to your website. You have all your suppliers there. They can open up an account and they can order through you, and you become their fulfillment company.
That's right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure everybody knew. So thank you, Sal.
Thank you for having me.
Your knowledge in this area, I knew when I decided like we need to talk about this because this is what everyone needs to know. I teach the business side, and this is affecting the business side. So I was like, okay, we need someone with even more knowledge than I currently have. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate everyone who's watching. This will be here in this group. I also did stream it live onto my business page so it can be shared. If you have other designers in your world that need to hear about this and miss this broadcast, you can go to my business page, Nancy Ganzikoff for Business Coach on Facebook, and you can share this broadcast. That's why I put it out in the public also, not just in the Interior Design Business Forum group. So everyone go have a great Thursday and the rest of your week. And just remember, just communicate, communicate, communicate. If you need me to help you become a more profitable interior design business, reach out and get on my calendar for a consult, because it all starts with a consult, just like with you guys. So thanks again, Sal. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.